All right, so we're live, and in typical fashion, we're having some technical difficulties with our Facebook streams. We're gonna take the link from our YouTube and we're gonna add that to the Facebook page and see if people can find us there. But if you are logged in, we really appreciate you being here. We thank you very much for joining us today. Vonnie and I, we're excited about the discussion that we're about to have. We have a special guest with us tonight, so we are going to get some insights that is going to definitely help with understanding better how to choose a university and how to make decisions that can benefit you as a student if you are an international student thinking about starting university in the United States. Um, some throughout the week we had some conversations with different young people who are thinking about pursuing university degrees and stuff like that. So I think there is definitely a need for us to have this discussion, and we're definitely gonna give some insight that might rub some people the wrong way. You never know, Vonnie.
You never know.
You never know. But at the end of the day, we just want to speak truth to power. We just want to be honest with our conversation so that people can really benefit from what we're talking about and not giving them, you know, misinformation or something that really isn't going to benefit them. So um, we appreciate everyone that's looking at the show right now. Vonnie, how has your day been, man? How are things with you?
Man, it's been busy, busy, busy. But I was looking forward to tonight. Anytime we can get a chance to connect, speak about these things. Actually on live, but we always speak about these things anyway. It's a good thing. It's a good, I would say, a little break from my day job, my day business. And just doing something a little different here. So I mean, hopefully it could energize me because after this the day is still going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And tonight we have a special guest with us, a friend who I've known for quite some time. We have a lot in common. We're from the same country. We that you can learn from him. So tonight I want to introduce our guest with us. And for some reason he says he's nervous. I don't know.
Timon, you kind of freezing. Your camera is freezing a bit.
Yeah, freezing a little bit in and out.
Yeah, you cut out a couple times.
But we heard. But
Okay,
we heard
okay.
the
Let me
last
try that
thing
again.
that
I'll
you
say
said.
Simeon.
We heard the last thing that
Oh,
you
you heard
said.
what I said? Okay. All right, okay. So Simeon, welcome, and you said you were a little nervous. So I was wondering if you're just scared of talking to me and Vonnie. Is that the case?
Nah, I just have stage fright, man.
You have stage right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
really
I don't
bad.
really like public speaking, so
All right, all
it's
right, all right,
something
all
I'm
right,
working
all
on
right,
though. But
all right, all
but it's a
right, all
pleasure
right.
to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, interested and looking forward to the conversation tonight. Yeah, Timon, you just cut out a bit again.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll just take it from
We
here.
we
But
look
I'll just
forward
say,
to the discussion tonight. And go ahead, Vonnie.
no, no, no. I was just gonna say that yeah, we're definitely happy to have you here, especially as you do not really like to do this, or not. I don't say like to do it, but that's something you're working on. So that's a perfect time. Just relax, talk to us just as normal, and
Yeah, of course.
it's anything that you say is definitely gonna benefit at least one person that's tapping in. So look at it from that direction, that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. We appreciate that. We appreciate that insight.
Yeah, yeah. I really, I
Yeah,
really, I really admire you guys for establishing this platform where you know um, prospective students and people thinking about studying could really go to and gain that insight because I know a lot of us wish we had these kind of platforms and some of the knowledge being shared from the guests that you had so far, even you guys. So um, it's definitely a good good venture.
all right, all right, all right.
Appreciate it, man.
So before we get into tonight's discussion, because the topic is a huge topic, and today I was kind of like thinking about it, doing what we would call a little prep, and I was kind of thinking about how to approach this topic, and man, there's so many things that we could talk about tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking about choosing a university first of all, and then when you do find that university, how do you choose that major that you're going to study as an international student? And one of the key things in this discussion is going to be international student. There's a component that specifically affects international students that we have to take in mind, and we're gonna hit that tonight. But before we do that, Vonnie, there are some things that we want to remind you all about. First of all, obviously, if you're looking at the show and you have someone that you might want to share the show with, just click on the link, pass it on to somebody else, take it and put it in your WhatsApp group chats where you have your friends that you normally talk to. Share it with your family members, whoever you might think would benefit from this conversation. Just go ahead and share the information with them before we start the discussion tonight, because we don't want anybody to miss out on the information that we're going to share. But we do have to remind people that on our YouTube channel, Global Ed Recruiting, we have some interviews that we've been doing with either past students or current students or professionals that they're all international students and they have experiences with studying in the US. We have interviews posted. It's long form. So those interviews they last a bit. It's no less than 30 minutes. So, take some time out of your day to look at them and see how you can benefit from the information shared. So go to our YouTube page, like our page, subscribe so that you can see when we post a new video, and then try to watch the videos that we posted. It definitely would help us out a lot in terms of getting the word out about what we're doing. And it helps to support, all of the efforts that we're putting into helping people. Because all that we do is free. We don't get paid for helping you. So we just want you to help us out by promoting the information that we're going to share with others. Vonnie, any other housekeeping notes you want to share before we start the discussion?
Well, I mean, you did bring the attention to our YouTube, which has a lot of information, a lot of free information, a lot of information that you probably get that I would say that you would not necessarily have to go and seek a certain question, but it could raise up other questions or other things that you had in mind that you never thought about. So this long form interviews, this long form content is very good. You can get into the nuances of it, but don't forget also our Instagram page. Make sure that we mentioned that we have some short form content, just some lists, different do's and don'ts. So you probably wouldn't have time to listen to a whole interview every time, but you could just go there and get some value there as well too. So just remember that, and just emphasizing the same thing. For every potential student or anybody that wants to get knowledge or work with us in any kind of way, it is free. So it's coming from us itself, the people itself. We're saying that. So we just want to emphasize that and always keep that on the radar. But I think that's basically it.
I think we're having slight, trippings with the internet. So sometimes the connection kind of going up and down. So bear with us. So hopefully we can get everything going smoothly eventually when the internet kind of settles itself. But yeah, so tonight, the big topic, the all-important topic, choosing a university and then choosing a major. So I think to kick off this discussion, I would just maybe start with some very elementary things that you might want to consider when you're choosing a university to study in the United States. Now, a lot of the advice that we're going to offer, it's not exclusive. It's not. So this is my disclaimer. It's information that you can benefit from, but it's not that this is the only way to do it. There are other ways, but we're just giving you the perspective that we've seen and lived, and we're giving you perspective that we think would benefit you. The intention of this advice is areas that what we think and have seen are more beneficial to people in the long run. So that's the impetus for us giving this type of advice. I think the very first thing that you want to think about when you're choosing a university, obviously, is whether or not that university has what you want to do. I mean, there's no basic, I cannot think of another basic place to start. Can you, Vonnie?
No, and that's funny you said that, because when you started the intro, you said that looking at choosing a university, then choosing a major. But sometimes the major that you want to do will help direct you to the university that you want to go to. So as you said that, I actually wanted to plug that in. So that's a perfect, a perfect segue where, we could have plugged that in here.
Yeah, because you know what? When I was doing this, I was like, well, wait, should we talk about choosing a major first before we choose a university? But then I said to myself, you know what? A lot of typical majors that people want to do, most universities would offer them to some degree. Like, like there's a scope of things that universities offer. But then you have to think about, well, how then would I get the best experience? So then you start considering other factors. But I think most people, the majors that they're going to do, if you have a very technical, very specific thing that you want to do, or you want to operate in a particular region of the world, then obviously you can't just go to any university. You'd have to select a university that gives you that specific qualification or operates in a particular region of the world and stuff like that. You won't come to the US and study law, but then you're going in England to practice, or you're going back in the Caribbean to practice. That
Exactly.
doesn't make any sense, Vonnie.
Another thing too I wanted to say about that also is that that really applies a lot to undergrads. So usually with the undergraduate degrees, the bachelor degrees, it's more or less it's not much of a factor in choosing university because as Timon said before, most universities would have some of these degrees. But a lot of the times in the advanced degrees, that's sometimes where you would have to decipher more. Okay, we want to go to that university because of the degree that it offers. Probably it's something that other universities do not offer. But also there's some other nuances as well that would kind of maybe go into some of the other points as well when you want to do the advanced degrees and choosing where you want to go to.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
yeah,
really
yeah.
depends because like I've heard instances where certain like some students might want to pursue particular degree, but it's um like super specific what they're looking for. But at the undergraduate level, I wouldn't say that it matters that much. I think when you get to a graduate degree or you're moving past that, then you want to specify and lock into you know specific area. But for the most part, I think like Fonny said, for the undergrad, it's not necessarily your biggest concern.
Yep, definitely agree with that. So,
Yeah, and just to add,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you cut out a little
And
bit.
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know, like the internet connection keeps going back and forth. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying like I was just going to give an example. Like it might be something related to the you know medicine or healthcare field, and the a university might have exactly what you're looking for, but um, you could follow that career path based on a more generalized subject like biology or whatever else there is that you could kind of put together to um, push you in that direction.
Yeah, yeah.
mm,
Something I wanted to do, and this might seem very basic, but I think it is necessary at this point, is to kind of make that distinction between what is an undergrad degree, because sometimes you might be spitting out but let me just go back to an associate degree, for instance. So, an associate degree is typically a 2 year degree that you do at a community college or a junior college. So, let's just start there. So, a lot of Caribbean countries and international countries all over the world, they have associate degrees. So, you do that, and that can prepare you for coming to university to do what's called an undergrad degree. An undergrad degree is typically a 4 year degree, but you could get it lessened based on what you came in with before your academic qualifications prior. But an undergrad degree is typically more of a, it's not very specific in terms of like area of concentration per se. Yes, it has like the overall idea of, yeah, well, you're doing accounting or you're doing engineering or whatever, but it's not like super condensed into one line of study or one specific area of study in most cases. So you get a lot of other information. So you get like history, you do history, you do add to the degree that you're pursuing. But then there's the graduate degree, or what some people call the master's degree. So the master's degree is typically something that lasts for about this is just typical between a year and 2 years, right? It could be 18 months. It could be different lengths, but that's about the time that you would see a master's degree for. And the master's degree is a little more specific than that of an undergrad degree. And you don't do like too much extra stuff. A lot of what you do is focused on a particular area, like honing in on that particular area. And then obviously there's things like PhDs. There's a lot of different types of PhDs too. So that's a whole different topic also. But there are, PhDs where you go to a even more extensive study in a particular area. So, that's just a basic understanding of what these types of degrees are. So if you guys want to think about, all right, you kind of know, you have an idea as to what you want to do, although we'll come back to talking about choosing majors, but you have an idea, then you found a university that's offering what you want to do. What's the next step now? What do you do? Do you just say, all right, well, that's it, and you just apply, or what do you do?
Well, one of the things I'd always say is research, 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 because, and that goes for a lot of things. If you have a plan to come up in the U.S. or anywhere to study, researching, finding out information and credible information is something that you're going to have to be doing regardless. So you might as well start before you actually get into the degree. And also, you do not also have to do only primary research or just information that you get from the website, information that you get from probably their international office, or or some representative from the school. But if you could actually get some other forms of feedback, from students that left the school, that went through the program that you're planning to go to, the masters. Sorry, not the masters, but the major that you plan to go to. That's very good as well, because you would get a more unfiltered set of feedback, and you could get a wide range of feedback. So I think that is the next step. You have to research, go to the official website, see the different classes that it would take. See what you have done already. If you have done an associate degree already, probably that you'll be able to transfer some credits. See if it has any prerequisites. See if you have to do any standardized examination. There's so many different things that you have to do. See when the subject, that major might have certain subjects that's offered once a year. So it could be like just in the fall or just in the spring. So all that could affect your decision when you come up there, what time you're gonna come up, what semester, and making sure that you apply for the right classes and everything like that. So research.
Yeah, Simeon, when you were considering your pursuit of your degree and everything, what are the things that you consider when you were choosing your university?
Yeah, I think much of what Vonnie covered is really on point. But one of the major things that he didn't mention was cost. And so cost is one thing, and for a lot of people that is a major factor. And apart from that, you may want to look into like what scholarships may be available, um, you know, like in the department, or just in general, to get you a better idea of what you could work towards, or what you could um, you know expect when you begin. So you might want to find out things like, hey, is there a department scholarship offered by um, you know whatever area that you decide to pursue, things like that. um, you may also want to find out exactly what um, uh, like campus life is like, or like the community that you're in, because obviously you leave your country to go pursue a degree. You're moving to a new place, so for some people it may be a struggle. For some, they may have a you know, they may be better at adapting, but you know, you want to do your degree, sorry, you want to do your research into where you do your degree. So um, like, does it get super hot, does it get super cold, what's the city like, is there, you know, a lot of crime, is there, you know, whatever the case is, you want to like understand all these factors.
Yeah, I think Vonnie, I think Simeon stole our notes, you know.
I just was gonna say he's leading to the next
Yeah,
point.
the man just going on to all the other
Probably,
points that we have, you know.
yeah, we could
So I don't
probably,
know. We have
yeah.
to maybe pull in Simeon in our next show briefing to basically just give us all the answers because the man have
Well,
everything.
Smart guy, man.
that's
That's
why he's
smart
here
guy.
for, you know
Yeah, that's
exactly.
exactly
Yeah, for.
why. That is the first guest we have, you
Exactly.
know. When I think about it now, that's exactly why. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Fully smart.
But you know, Simeon mentioned some things that we obviously were going to mention later on, but we were just trying to take you through it one by one because we want you to understand that it's a step by step process. But we could jump into it now. I think one of the major factors. So after you know what you want to do, whether or not the university has that to offer, and all of that, you have to consider cost.
Yeah.
This may not be the case for you if you have it and you have the bag and you know what I mean. You're rolling deep, but
If you were set,
if you're set, I mean, come on now.
yeah.
If you're set, you know what I mean? But there are cases where, in most cases, international students have to consider that because they come into a place where the cost of living is higher. It's much more expensive to live in the United States than a lot of other places in the world. People mightn't think that. They might be like, oh, well, the US has everything, so they must be cheap. That's not the case, trust me. And then a lot of countries, our dollar isn't as strong as the US. So we have to do conversion. So for every $1 you spend in the US, you might have to convert a bunch of other money from your currency to make that $1. So cost is a huge, huge, huge factor. And as Simeon mentioned too, a way to lessen cost is by thinking about scholarships. And scholarship again, Vonnie, that is a whole other show
Yeah.
because there's this notion that scholarships is like fully funded. Everything is free. I don't even have to pay for my flight. But Vonnie, from your from your understanding and experience, but no, that's true. Some
Yeah.
people, they think because I get a scholarship, what I mean, like my flight and all taken care of. But
But
Vonnie, tell people what scholarship really is.
well, one of the reasons I'd say before I even say what a scholarship is, one of the reasons why I think the misconception comes from is because there are certain schools, or I should say certain programs with government, different government has programs with certain schools that do offer full scholarships. Unfortunately, these schools are not U.S. schools. I don't know about any U.S. school where that is an arrangement, right? So a scholarship basically is just an assistance, financial assistance, right? Sometimes that scholarship is used for a specific thing. So the scholarship is just, for tuition. Sometimes the scholarship could be, some type of room and allowance for a room and board, different things. But a scholarship is really something that you earn, and you have to earn it too. It's not just something that you get for free. So you have to be eligible for it. So you have to look and see, what are the different things that you need to do to qualify for it, and then you get that. And what really helps is a combination of scholarships. If you have a combination of scholarship and put yourself in a position for that, then that could alleviate a lot of the cost. Um, and even before even going on to the scholarship thing, one of the things I kind of wanted to speak about is because here at Global Ed, and obviously we're given this information for any potential non-US student that wants to go to a US university. But here at Global Ed, we specifically work with the more of the affordable universities. So our main core audience is going to be people like Timon and myself who didn't have the bag to just go there and and we don't see that with any shade or anything like that. That's great, and that's the position that if I have my family, that's the position I want them to be in. But we didn't have that. We had to work before we went there. We had to do whatever it takes to get the finances to pursue our dream, and to pursue our goal, I should say. So the cost is a factor in choosing a school, because, if you do not have, a lot of these financial resources, you might want to go to a reputable university that, is a cost-effective university as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I'm glad Vonnie brought that up because a lot of universities that we partner with, they all, in our estimation, based on like looking at trends around the US, there are some little tricks to making it cheaper for you as a student too. Because what we would advise people to do is when you're considering your into a junior college first, we strongly recommend that you go to a junior college or community college. So like if you're in Grenada, go to TAMCC. If you're in those other countries around the world, go to a junior college because it lessens your cost. And so when you're thinking about like how I'm gonna make this cheaper for me, that's one thing that you must, in our opinion, must consider. And aside from just the cost of doing that, it also prepares you and it makes you like put you in a better state of mind. So encourage people to do consider going to junior college prior to entering university in the US. I think the last Vonnie, go ahead.
Yeah, before you go on to the next point, I also want to say another thing is if the university allows you to start online as well, do that as well. So if you can combine going to the national college, your junior college, your TAMCCs or the different colleges in the different countries, that allows you to do an associate degree, that allows you to do it at a lower cost and allows you to be able to get some transfer credit. And then you could also be in a university where some programs, it's not as much as before, because when the pandemic was there was more of the leniency with that. But if some programs can allow you to take some classes online, stay home for a little bit more and do these classes. So when you come up, or you'll be much more cost effective, and another big part of the cost, I'm not sure if you mentioned that before, but another big part of the cost is not just the tuition cost, but actually living there. No, actually, you did say that, Timon. So living in the US is very expensive. So being a student, you're going to be broke. So you
Yep.
want to be in the US more when you have more money available than you don't have. So if you come up for a little bit of time when you're broke, and then you could get your job or something like that after, then it's better. Because even if you have a job, if you don't have a good job, it'll still be tough. So
Yeah, yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Simeon?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people just think about to you guys' point, people just think
Simeon?
about tuition, for example. But a lot of times there's so many other factors like insurance. You need health insurance as a student. Um, living expenses, which might be rent, then utilities and food and all this stuff. So really, when you do your research, it's key to plan, and know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So just so you have a better understanding of how you could navigate certain things.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the topic of choosing a university, obviously, our goal here is not to tell you that if you want to go to an expensive university, you can't. But we're trying to talk to the student that's looking for an affordable university where they don't necessarily have all of the money to afford it. And in a lot of cases, that's where we're coming from. You know what I mean? So we're talking to the student like that. And we're talking to the student who is going to do a major that can be found. So that's our audience. If you want to go to the Harvard and all of that, that's okay. Just know that it costs a lot. And our conversations are not necessarily geared towards people like that. So that's fine, and we wish you all the best with that. But we're trying to help students who are looking for affordable universities, going to depend on some form of scholarships and stuff like that. And I think one element I want to add to that discussion about scholarships too, when you're choosing a university as it relates to cost, is some universities have scholarships that are specifically designed for international students. So whereas you might just go on the general website and you see scholarships and you're thinking, yeah, I could get that scholarship, you have to consider that you might not be eligible because you're not a domestic or American student. And that's why we said in the beginning, the whole idea of being international in this whole topic here is one major thing that we have to factor in whenever we're considering all of these things that we're talking about. So know for sure that there are scholarships that you would not be able to access because you're not an American student, you're not a domestic student. It just doesn't afford you that opportunity. I mean, straight up, Bonnie, I have to say it as it is.
No, the reason why I laugh is because I remember, and that was just, I mean, I think I publicly said, I said on record when I went to school, and it was a while, but I remember I had a time I saw a scholarship, and I thought, I didn't know that, that international students couldn't get all the scholarships. So I was thinking, like, I was thinking I had that one in the bag, and then a well-bred. It's like, no, you're not eligible for that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then like some people here
So
fancy.
when you're talking about it, I was just like, it was just.
Yeah, and then some people hear fancy terms like financial aid and stuff like that, and they think that they're eligible, and you're not as an international student. So don't be fooled by that. You know what I mean? So really think about your decision. I honestly think a lot of people, the first thing that comes to mind when they're considering university is the cost. We could talk about major, we could talk about all the other things, campus life and things that are accessible on campus to support you and all of that. But cost is one of the major factors. Because the cost isn't just related to the tuition. As we said, the cost is related to buying food, buying the right clothes for the place that you're living in, and all of that. So there's so many other factors. You have to think about entertainment, transportation, like a bunch of other things that you have to consider. So yeah, think about that before you choose a university, and that's where we are here to help you with making a decision. We could put you on. We'll get them the link, Vonnie. We go share the link.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, we go share the link tree.
Share it up.
We go share the link tree with you, and we'll give you the tools that you need to find the university that we think is affordable. And I think the last point that we have on this is think about the holistic experience. Campus has to be there to support you. Vonnie, I know you when you worked on at your university as a student assistant, you were helping other students because you were doing tutoring and stuff like that, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So basically, and there's different organizations in different schools. So the first one I did actually was working with veterans and first year university, not first year, first generation university students. So basically, they had free tutoring services and everything like that, and it was very good for myself to just interact with and speak to some of the veterans. Some of them are really injured, some of them, but like they got, I think they were able to get free schooling and everything. I'm not sure of the whole program, so I know they have that. And then one of my other good friends too, one of our friends that I don't think he'll mind, Jamie. He used to do tutoring and do a program, but that program was actually for like after school students, after school high school students. So they had a relationship, and that was one of the things too. Even when looking at the campus life, the experience that you have, you want to see probably what relationship that the university has with the community. And usually small universities and these types of schools have a great relationship with the community, because usually that's what the community has as the highlights. They go to the basketball games, they go to different things. And once you can watch that, you can develop a relationship, and that can help you get a lot of do a lot of networking and everything. But we don't want to necessarily go into that aspect. But yeah, definitely that's something to consider.
yeah, yeah. Simeon, in terms of your choice for university, right? I mean, all three of us went to the same university for our undergrad degree. But was there like, because you knew a little bit about the culture, I'm guessing, because you had some friends and stuff, I think, right?
Yeah,
Prior.
yeah.
So you knew a little bit about the culture. How did that influence your decision in terms of like saying like, yeah, I feel I'll be comfortable there because I know there's a little community or something. Did that affect your decision at all?
Well, I think the fact that I had a really good friend that I have a really good friend that started there before me, and that had a big part to play in why I decided to make that move. Um, because you want to first of all, um, their experience was valuable, in terms of you know um, me knowing what to expect, and yeah, just understanding like, hey, yo, you're my really good buddy, so if you trust, you know doing this thing, and you trust this college, you trust this school, you could, you tell me like, hey, yeah, it's a really good program, then yeah, I'll take all that into consideration.
Yeah. So you see, word of mouth marketing there. Somebody else tell you, yo, I having a good experience here. I'm benefiting from this, and I think you could benefit too. And it sells itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I do the same. So, like, if I know that there's a really good program that, somebody's interested in going to school, I would say, hey, well, this is my experience, and it's kind of like, you know you're I'm able to give back to somebody, share some knowledge, the same way that I received that knowledge from somebody else, and that whole culture of passing things on, I think is was really good in my decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about a couple things. So let me just go back so that if you're just joining the conversation, you understand where we are right now. So we're first discussing how you should choose a university. There are factors that you want to consider. We are kind of like, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because should you first know what your major is before you choose a university, or should you choose your university first, then find a major? So it's like, I don't know. It kind of works in a kind of twisted kind of way, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to have an idea as to what you want to do, and then you have to see if the university has what it is you want to do, and then you want to look into other things like cost. You want to look into location. Location is a big thing because weather could affect your experience, whether it be negatively or positively. Um, then you want to think about scholarships and all of the other things related to cost that you would want to consider, and then you want to think about, well, can I get my associate degree credits transferred and all of that. And then you want to think about the community, the campus, the holistic experience. There's so many things like, could I get a job? Oh, there's so many things to think about. So um, although it might sound overwhelming in the beginning, but I think what Simeon said is really key in making that decision. Do you have someone you could talk to that could kind of advise you or give you some form of actual insight into what you should expect at that university? So yeah, so those are some of the factors. Vonnie, I don't know if I did a good enough job of summarizing it. I know
Yeah,
you were a teacher,
yeah,
so you could give me a grade here. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, and you're a teacher with longer tenure than me, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, no,
Ah,
but
yeah,
actually,
boy.
no, actually, when Simeon said his points, one thing that came to mind with the location part that I didn't think about before that was, if you can get a university that's close to where you have relatives or family around it, that could be a great um, factor in your decision as well. Because even I never experienced that, but I had friends who experienced that. One of my really good friends, his he has two very close uncles that lived in the state that the university, we had. So I remember when we just came there, they brought us in Walmart and
Yeah,
shop, and you know how it is. That
yeah.
your virgin and them, they go to, so
Everybody going together.
going together. We sometimes some like little holidays and everything like that. We'll go to them like little Thanksgiving, little different little breaks and things of that nature. So you could get some support. If you could go to a place where you could get some support, that would be good. Certain schools, certain cities, the living arrangements, you probably even be able to live there and go to school every day, which could kind of affect your costs and could possibly alleviate some of the costs as well. So think about that as well. Where you're going to have a good support system, that could be good. Or you could look at it the other way. You could, if you know you're going to be you're going to be distracted.
Yeah, for real, eh?
Or in
Yeah.
a place where you know everybody, you might not want to go there. You might
Yeah.
want to go to a boring town. You might want to go to a place where, nobody really knows you like that. And then, every big thing, Thanksgiving is big. You could go, make a turn every, once a year, a couple times a year. But now you have to look at it both ways. So you have to see if it's going to be a plus or detriment to you, and then make the
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah. I like that last point. Important. Simeon, you were saying?
No, I was just laughing at what he said because my advice is if you like clubbing, don't go to one of those
Don't go close to the
big
club.
fast cities, because it's easy to get tied up in the whole fast life and partying and those kind of stuff. But when you have a goal in mind, and even if you go to a really boring town, you know that hey, it's only for a while, and there would be times for you to you know kind of free up and enjoy yourself. But for the most part, you have a mission. You left home with a goal of getting a degree, and you go in, get it, and you head out. So yeah.
Simeon, it sounds like you're speaking from personal experience when you talk about don't go into don't
Nah, pretty
and Vonnie,
transparent.
you realize he can't even look us in the camera, right? Like he can't even look straight. He sort of to the side because
Thank
but
God
yeah,
I made it.
yeah.
Thank God I made it.
Yeah. But that's some real serious
Yeah.
and seriously good advice there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
avoid Florida and Atlanta and
New York.
Yeah. But yeah, all those are things that you want to consider, man. Choose like maybe you might work best in a nice little quaint town, quiet place where not much happening, and you could just concentrate and really focus in on what you want to do. And I mean, as we just say, like think about university. As Vonnie said, when you come to university, you're going to be broke. Unless you have the bag, you already have the bag. But typically, you're going to be broke. So you have to think about this as just a period or a time in your life when you're doing something to improve yourself. You can't be thinking about it like your perpetual state of brokenness. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just like okay, I broke now, but I won't be broke tomorrow. So I kind of, I understand why I broke.
That's a nice
Yeah.
segue to go in the major, but anyway.
Yeah, but let me go into major now because I know Vonnie been practicing speeches for this whole major discussion here because but see, I didn't tell you this, but Vonnie had in my little group chat, boy, Vonnie was bringing up some points about like what we should really talk about when we come to this major thing, and Vonnie wanted to hit it hard, but Vonnie was going like full on with the explanation as to why you want to avoid certain majors or choose certain majors. And me and the other partner in the group, we were like, hey, Vonnie, you have to make sure you come with your A game tomorrow. That's same. I guess I could just play Vonnie voice note and that'll be enough.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good enough.
But
But
yeah, go ahead.
no, just to say, funny enough, it was because it was a reaction, and Timon did say earlier on, and we always get inquiries, you get inquiries, and we hear different things. So it came from that, but yeah, we'll touch on it.
Yeah. So I think this is a good segue to jump into that. But just before we do that, if you're listening to us and you have a question, you can put it in the chat. We appreciate your input. If you have just like a comment or something that you want to share, that'd be really nice. Somebody said, LOL, come in Macomb and live relatively cheap. That's good advice there.
Yep.
That coming from Shanir. I did an interview with Shanir, so you could listen to that full interview with him and you'll see what he has to say about Macomb. But that's some good advice there, Shanir. So let's tackle this big topic, the big topic, the elephant in the room. Choosing a major. Now, a major in this case isn't somebody who leading a band and in front of the band with a stick and them is a major. You know what I mean? When we say major in this instance, we're talking about your general area of study, like what you're going to be doing. Now, you might hear some people say major and minor. So we're not talking. And Simeon is a musician, so he might those things might resonate with him when you talk about major and minor. So if you're a musician, you go get it. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the big picture, what you're going to be focusing on, and the direction you're going to be headed. That's what a major is basically. your area of study. But then your minor could be what I would call like a complementary or another area of study that isn't your main focus. Boy, I don't know if that was a convoluted explanation, but I try my best. Because I'm trying
Nah,
to break it down as simple as possible for the person who's listening and don't have any clue of what we're talking about. I don't know. Vonnie, help me out here. Help out the teacher.
nah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Actually explaining it, I wasn't even thinking about it, but yeah, it's definitely good that you let them know what we actually mean when we say choosing a major.
Yeah. So now you're at the point where you know what, boy, I applied to this university and I selected when they asked me what major I want to do. I just hit a button because I heard everybody talking about psychology, or I hear everybody talking about art or theater or whatever, and I just chose that. But I just wanted to get in, so I didn't really care. But then you start thinking about it now and you realize, oh boy, I need to have 70, $80,000 to show. And I'm talking about in currencies that are not US in some instances, right? And you're like, man, I have to put up all this money, boy. Am I really going to be able to pay mommy back or daddy back or uncle back or whoever grants me that money? You know what I mean? So now you have to think, well, is the thing that I'm going to be doing going to give me the best chance at being successful in the US as an immigrant? That word, that I word, is a very important word, immigrant. So Vonnie is a accountant, and Vonnie like to put things in accounting terms. So I'm going to give Vonnie the opportunity to explain to you what we call ROI, return on investment.
Right.
Vonnie, take it away.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I always look at, not only in choosing a major, but in almost any major decision that you want to make. Look at your return on your investment. So that could that could be different things. So when you say an investment, it could be obviously first you think about the money that you're gonna spend to go to school. It's not free, and everything is relative. So it's relatively not cheap, right? So when you go through that, you want to make sure that you're going to get more than what you spend. And remember, you're spending that for a number of years. So you want to make sure that you can recoup that amount, and you want to recoup that in a reasonable time frame, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you are doing, whatever the major that you're doing, or whatever the action that you take, that would be directly responsible for the return that you get. So the money is the first thing. The next thing is time, which is actually more important than money, because you could get back money, but you can't get back your time. So as we said before, depending on the path that you take, it's going to take years. Most likely, that when we're talking about undergrad, it would take maybe 2 years for the least amount of time, maybe 1.5. If you do your associate's degree, and if you get to do some courses online, then yes, that'll be great. But even when you're doing the associate degree, I mean, even if you're doing the courses online, that's still time that you're taking away. It's something called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, it's whatever you could have been doing when you're doing something else. So the opportunity cost of me being in the live right now is preparing the books for my clients to pass to the tax accountants. That's messaging me every day, right?
Wait,
So
what's the word? Opportunity cost?
opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a economic concept. So basically, you want to say, hey, the opportunity cost of me, with time wise, of me going in school and studying was probably staying in that same job and making money, probably staying in that same job and gaining experience to put myself to for another job, whatever. So if I'm going to go and do this thing, and I'm going to go and do it in this specific major, make sure that it makes sense.
Make it make sense.
Make sure that the dollars make sense. Make sure that the money that you're going to spend, that you put yourself in a position to make it, and make sure that the time that you're going to spend, that you put yourself in a position where it's going to elevate you, instead of remaining in the same thing that you would have been doing if you didn't go to study, or choosing another course of action. And
Yeah.
when I say that, we're speaking in a general sense. Of course, there are outliers. Of course, there are different people who can, probably do it on a non-traditional way or different things. But there are many different factors that goes into success. Luck is a big factor, and there's no successful person, and success is relative, right? But there's no successful person that gets where they are without some type of luck, right? But you want to put yourself in the position where you could benefit the most, where you do not have to rely on luck, where you do not have to rely on being the 1% or the 2%, right? So when we're speaking, and one thing about, and I know I'm going a little in, but that's me. One thing about when you're young, right? And obviously you could come to university any age and anything like that. But when you're younger, the younger you are, the more you think that you're special, quote unquote. Like the rules don't apply to you. Oh yeah, it happened that way, but nah, don't worry. It's gonna happen differently with me because
Yeah.
I'm me, because I'm Alvon, because I'm Vonnie, because I'm the Von man. I could do it different, you know. But when you get older, sometimes it humbles you, right? And you realize, hey, what big bro was telling me, it makes sense. What the OG was telling me makes sense. Listen to me. Because Timon is speaking to you, because Vonnie is speaking to you, because Simeon is speaking to you, that doesn't mean we took all the advice we're giving. No.
Exactly.
We're telling you because we made a lot of these mistakes. We tell you because we have seen a lot of our friends and colleagues make a lot of mistakes, right? So if you really take it for what it is, not looking at it in a defensive way, but you take it for what it is, like, yo, he's saying something that I might not want to hear, but it might be the best thing to put your perspective into place. So make sure you have a great return on your investment. I hope I went through the different ways you could get a great return on your investment, and then we could maybe make some suggestions going from there. But yeah.
Yeah. So Simeon, let's get to because one of the major reasons we brought you here was the major reason was majors. That's why we brought you here, and we were talking about I tried a thing there, but it didn't work. But the point
Yeah.
is, we brought you here because you're one of those people that we look up to in terms of somebody who really went after it, and you
Appreciate
haven't
that.
made it yet. I'm pretty sure because you talk to me all the time about, yo, I want to develop this app, I want to do this, I want to do that. So I know you're a man that have big things in your mind, and you have a lot going on in your head, and you are going to be one of those successful guys. But the thing is, I know that you had to make some decisions early up in order to position you for that success, right? So you are a software developer. You're in the area of STEM, basically. So you're in science, technology, engineering, and math. That is one of the biggest recommendations we have for at Global Ed. Always look at STEM degrees. Remember what I told you. Don't forget you're an international student. So you trying to position yourself in the in a space where if your intention is to work in the US, you're putting yourself in that very best position. Who doesn't want to be in the best position? You know what I mean? So, Simeon, you made a decision early up that this is what you want to do. But give us a little backstory or a little history into how you decided, all right, this is that what I'm going to pursue, and I'm going to go full 100 until I get where I want to get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a loaded question, but I think well, let me start with my story, right? Uh, as far as I can remember myself, I think I always kind of gravitated towards um, more technical and science related things, right? So um, I remember at 10 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut. Around 9, 10 years old, that was a big thing with me. I wanted to be an astronaut, and I think eventually when I started doing physics, that dream kind of faded.
When you start doing physics, you realize I astronaut.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, one interesting thing that happened recently, and when I say recent, I mean within the last year and a half. I traveled back home over, I think, last summer or something, and my mom had these well, she had a, we had these bins with some of my old stuff, right? And I was just messing around in there, and I found this one little booklet, right? And it was from Career Week from when I went to PBC. I went to Presentation Brothers College in Grenada. So it was this little booklet, this little workbook from Career Week, and I opened it and I was just going through it, trying to kind of figure out like where was my mind at, that time. And I saw myself making little annotations, so the little exercises in the booklet, um, kind of guiding you through to help you figure out like what you really wanted to do as a career. And some of the things I remember seeing was like, um, electrical engineer, and like architect, and I think like computer programmer and music, and stuff like that. Because I as a student, when I was when I went to high school, I liked subjects like technical drawing, and a lot of practical stuff, but it was yeah, it was always something that general area always stood out to me. So I think in that process, around that time, I heard the term. You always hear these generic, typical jobs like, oh, the doctor, the lawyer, the teacher, or whatever the case is. And I heard software engineer, and when I heard that one, I was like, that really stood out to me, because at that time I just got into IT. That's when we just started doing information technology in high school. So I really liked the programming and coding aspect of it. I just in general, I liked the subject, and I remember from that time, it was around Form 3, telling myself like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And yes, since then I've just been working towards it. So I went on, I did a lot of technical related subjects, so the electronics, the IT, stuff like that. And then I went on to, well, math included. Then I went on to college, community college, and I did IT, worked for a bit in the IT field, and I think after 2 years I left to start my computer science degree. So that's kind of my mecca of how everything started.
Ah, okay, okay.
I wanted to ask something, Simeon. So in your thought process and everything like that, and looking at, and that's pretty amazing actually to hear that story and everything. And when you go back and remember and everything, going back memory lane, did you like look at, okay, at any time, how much does a software engineer make a year, or did that aspect also play that part in your decision, or was it just like a passionate, more a passionate?
Yeah, yeah, that definitely came later on. I wasn't thinking
First, yeah.
any of that initially, you
Yeah.
know.
There's a
Um,
reason why I asked that, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think, and the last um the last point that we touched on, when you were talking about you know choosing what makes sense. Um, you know, I I do I fully agree with that. Um, and it's crazy because a lot of people, even in university, people get to university and you ask them, a lot of times it's American kids, right? American students in university. You ask them, so like, what do you want to do, like, and they pretty much undecided. They don't know what they want at that point. And I think it's really important to start having these conversations early on, um, in the life of students. When I say students, I mean at the primary school level, secondary school level, stuff like that. Because you mentioned that you always have to, or you should always strive to make the more feasible decision, essentially, to get the best return on investment. But the thing is, we have a lot of students that they don't have a clue of what they want to do at all. Like they're like, it's time to go to, like, they leave secondary school and it's like, okay, well, I have to go to college, but they don't even have the slightest idea of what area they want to pursue. So I think we need to start having these conversations earlier, and really build um, what I would say is career awareness. Um, so, we really have people thinking from an early stage of, where they see themselves, and what they see themselves doing in the future. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, definitely. Um, even with what you said, and that's actually I have that same experience too. When you ask, what do you want to do as your major, and a lot of the times, it might be U.S. Students. Hey, bro, man, I don't even know, or I'm trying this out, or they change their major 2 times, 3 times. But here's the thing, they could afford to do that.
Yeah, you have less
Not on
room
a
for
time limit.
mistakes. Yeah, you have less room
Not on
for
a time
mistakes.
limit, right? Some of them, I remember there was when I was tutoring, there was this student and my good brethren, and he was not always applying himself. He knows the work, but he's not always applying himself, and he just did. And he realized, yo, bro. After a while, he was like, bro, man, I'm just doing this degree. My dad got 2 ranches. We had a family accountant. They just looking to groom me as the next family accountant come up. So he had his bread buttered,
Yeah.
you know. And a lot of the things is they could afford to do that, and that's the thing. So on that side, we have to be cognizant that we do not have that leverage, and that's just the honest truth. We do not have that leverage. And the next thing is and it will touch into what me and Timon had and spoke about in the first live. We have to decide whether doing a degree in the first place makes sense, because not we're not telling you not we're not telling you to do anything that you do not want to do, like, or hate to do. We don't want to do that. In some instances, doing a degree is not necessary for your goal. If you're passionate about something, because it's as I say, it's a huge economic commitment and time commitment, right? And also, you know, you do not have to do the degree right after school. Timon shared his story, I shared my story. Sometimes you could work for a little bit, get a little bit more experience, different things to lead you to the path. And the last point is, let me put it this way. If I'm not sure what I want to do, I'm going to do the subject that would get me in the position to make the most money after that. Because if I have to go to university and I'm not sure I want to do what I want to do, I'm going to look at the subjects and look at the jobs that you're going to get, and look at the jobs that a lot of Americans don't do, because that's where the market, you're going to be more marketable, and I'm going to do that. So if you're not sure, then go for the main thing, and then life doesn't end after you did the degree. You might be able to be in a job and meet someone that you'll be able to get the connection to do your passion. You may be able to start a job, a business on the side. You may be able to have a hobby, and it turns into a hustle after that. But you would be able, even not having a great job, you'd be able to have such a great salary that could actually be the capital to invest in your business. That could be the capital to invest in the next thing. So your
Yeah.
passion doesn't have to stop. When you study, you could still do practice on your passion, but you have to think practically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when you use that word passion there, I think it's important to find you know, I mean, everybody's case is different, right? But it's important to find a nice balance between um, what you're passionate about, what's your passion, and also what makes sense and what's feasible, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like we need to have a lot of these conversations, um, like with our students, to
Yeah.
establish more awareness in terms of, career options, career paths, right? So I would say to anybody, like, the first thing the first thing I would say, and that was just my thing. So that's what I could speak on. So for me, I would always tell people, like, what are understand yourself, know yourself. What are you passionate about? And that might be a whole journey of self-discovery, right? But once you understand, what you're passionate about, what excites you, um, what 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 you enjoy doing, it kind of starts painting a clearer picture of, possible, career paths that you could take. And then once you take that into consideration, like, okay, well, I like this, I like arts, or maybe I like science, or maybe I like business stuff. You start having these conversations with yourself, and then it brings you to a point that you could start asking yourself, okay, well, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? You know, it may be a case of, okay, what things come naturally to me? Because, for example, you might, and this is just a different contrast, right? But you might like, let me use a practical example. You might like football, and that's your passion, but it just doesn't come natural to you, right? Playing tennis might come natural to you. So it might be a wise decision to not play football, and go with what your strengths are. And obviously it could be the case that it might necessarily be a strength, but you could work extra hard to put yourself in that position
Mm-hmm.
and be as competitive. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's really asking yourself these questions, and understanding, like, hey, well, this is what I like, this is what I'm good at. And then you can start having conversations about, okay, no, what makes sense, where's the job market going, like, where are the opportunities, are is this field, you know is this field have a lot of room for growth,
Yeah.
how do I advance myself? So I think, for the most part, that's a really important conversation that we need to start having. It needs to be feasible, but you don't want to be you don't want to be in a position where, like, and I've seen it, after a degree, on graduation day, you're like, yo, I don't even like accounting. And then,
Yeah.
because I've seen it. So I think, just finding that healthy balance between everything is always important.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day too, right? I mean, so much of what y'all said is just facts. Like you can't dispute that. And I don't even want to repeat what y'all said because it sits where it sits. But aside from that, yeah, you like something and you're passionate about something, but as Simeon kind of said, would that pay the bills? Especially if you're thinking of staying in the US. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier, the living in the US isn't cheap. So I mean, when you do certain degrees, there might be very little chance of you finding a job that could really support you. And yeah, we have this notion that, oh well, I went to university, I should be able to make money, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But that's not necessarily the case, because you're thinking about, I have a degree, but there's 5 million other people in the US that has that same degree that you have, and they may have that degree from another university that even has more clout and more of everything else. So you can't just think about it as it's just me and it's just I. You competing in a global market. And one of the things that my brother always mentions is that having a degree when you're going to do a job interview, it's basically like you're just weeding out all those who qualify to send in their resume. That's basically what you're doing.
The bare minimum.
The bare minimum is having the degree, because everybody else has a degree, everybody else have the same thing. So it's a lot of other things that go into success as a professional and getting a job and all of that. And as I said, that big, we cannot forget that we're talking about students who are immigrants, and there's a lot of limitations when it comes to being an immigrant in the US. You cannot just say, I'm going to find a job, I'm just going to work anywhere, because you have to think about it. Well, I may only just have 1 year to work on something called OPT. So does it really make sense to do a degree that doesn't even give me the chance of getting an extended OPT where I can possibly stay for 3 years and gives me a better chance of gaining industry experience and putting me in a space where more people can see my ability and my talents? So I think there's so much to think about. And part of what Simeon mentioned earlier is part of what we're trying to do, Vonnie, where we're trying to have these conversations earlier. We're trying to have people learning about considerations that you might want to take and keep in mind earlier than the point where you're filling out the application. So we're actually doing things like trying to speak to high school students back in the Caribbean, secondary school, form fours and fives. And, we just talk to people on a daily basis trying to give them advice. So it's a host of things that you have to think about when you're choosing a major. Before we carry on with the discussion, I think I want to address a question that was posted in the chat. Big up Gareth, big supporter, one of our friends, somebody who always looks out for us and supports the work that we do. He was asking, what are some of the universities that we work with? And I know this is kind of not necessarily in vein of a major, but I think I just want to address it quickly in case you're coming in and then you're jumping out. So we work with Western Illinois University. Um, that's one of the universities that has really good packages for international students. They have scholarships, they have a holistic experience, and the person who leads that university is the same person that got us maybe where we were in the beginning as we did our undergrad, is the same person who's directing that office there. We also work with Weber State. Weber State is in Utah. That's a nice university for people who want to start small. It's not like a huge university, but it does give you really good majors and good things that you can pursue. We work. Go
I
ahead.
just wanna tap in this little thing for Weber State for basketball and NBA enthusiasts like me. That's Dame Lillard's alma mater.
Yeah,
Just
Dame time, Dame time. That's where Dame Lillard went to school. Yeah, and then and then we have Northwest Missouri State University. We recently partnered with them, so we are going to be hopefully having somebody from Northwest on a live chat with us to talk about their university. Northwest is very affordable. It's in Missouri. It's one of those smaller universities, as I said, and small helps a lot of the times because it makes it a little more affordable in some instances. So we work with them. Then there are other universities that we are affiliated with in some way or the other. So you can check us out, check out our Instagram or Linktree, Facebook, and you'll see us talking about those universities. But if you just heard the initial mention of these schools, you could start looking them up and see if it's something that you want to explore. But all of these universities provide something for international students specifically. So that's who we work with and we partner with, right? Now, moving the discussion along as it relates to choosing a major. Now, Simeon, I think maybe what would be one of the interesting things to kind of hear from you is like, what does a software developer do? Like, yeah, you're somebody sitting behind a computer, but like, what exactly are you doing? Like, what practical things are you working on that a software developer would do?
Right. So, in terms of a software developer in general, like the the role um, would vary from company to company, right? In terms of what what you actually have to do on a day-to-day basis. But in general, I think if I were to explain my job and my role, I would say I work on a lot of applications, so a lot of software um, that um, we use and our teammates, meaning in the company that I work for. So I work on a lot of those applications, both the front end, which would be the parts that you see, so like a web page or there's the visual parts. So as well as the back end aspects of things. So the 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 code that you don't see behind the websites, essentially. So I'm what you could consider a full stack developer. So um, and developer roles, like I said, would vary, but as a full stack developer, you kind of work with you work in both worlds. So I have to work on some things on the front end, some things on the back. You have to do some work with databases, stuff like that. And then you from time to time would get to explore different technologies. For example, I work with a lot of this is thing called RPA, which is robotic process automation. So think of it as a robot, but not a physical robot. It's a software bot. So a lot of what I do, or some of what I do, is related to that. So a lot of tasks that we would have teammates manually do. So they may have to, upload files to something, and they have to go in all day one by one and do some manual tasks that doesn't necessarily require any, heavy lifting. It doesn't require much thinking. Um, we look for ways to automate that and several other things, because in in every industry, I think automation is a growing a growing um, goal. People want to automate everything, so we want less and less human interaction because one, it saves money. Two, it saves time, and three, it saves us from making mistakes because it's easy. A human is more prone to making mistakes, so uh, that's a lot of what I do. So developing new applications, new features, maintaining existing applications because you come into an established company, they would have a lot of processes already built years before you even got there. So you have to kind of adapt and fall in a sense and be able to troubleshoot and find bugs, make enhancements to things that people may have done years ago, and just overall help achieve business goals, business objectives, solving problems. So I would say if I had to use it, like use one term to explain it, it's a lot of problem solving and problem solving in terms of practical issues or practical um, things that you know the the client would want to achieve.
Okay, okay. But that sounds very interesting. It sounds like at some point I was like, my goodness, okay. Like, all right, back end, front end.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I was like, boy, I
yeah.
could keep
Whenever
up.
I always start to laugh when people ask me like what exactly my job is, because honestly, it's like every day could be something else. Every week you could have something else to work with. So when I use words, it didn't fly over anybody's head. But when I use words like front end, it more speaks to, like I said, the visual aspect of
Things
the
that you
web
see.
page. Right. So, you know, um, this button or this, you know, um, how does the user interact with the product? So that's it in a visual sense. But obviously, what you see on the front isn't all there is, right? There's a lot of data being stored. For example, if you log into a website, it has your information. The information is stored somewhere. It's stored in a database, right? So when you log in, for you to see, you know, you say you go to Facebook, you want to see your friends list show up. We have to, Facebook has to go retrieve. Hey, Timon just logged in. Who are all his friends? Display his friends list. So there's a part in that system that would say, hey, go grab all this user's friends and display it on the screen for him. So it's a kind of link up between those two concepts of front and
Yeah,
back.
yeah. So in terms of like your journey and you're choosing your major, that obviously I think Vonnie asked you this. I'm not asking you to disclose your salary or anything. So you don't need to. I figure Vonnie was trying to get an answer from you. I find the way Vonnie was slanting was like,
I believe in confidentiality.
okay. Yeah, you're an
Trying to get me in
accountant.
trouble,
Yeah,
man.
for sure. Yeah. But so Simeon, in terms of like generally, right? People who do degrees like yours, what is the typical expectation for somebody like that? I know it's a huge range because there's engineers working at big, like huge companies are making $300,000 and all of that stuff. But then, I mean, we're talking about the common person that's coming out of school with a computer science. Did I say correctly? Is it computer science is what you did at university?
Right, I did a computer science degree. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because I know back home we call it something different. So I was just making sure.
Yeah, there are some programs that IT, information technology,
Right. Okay.
like
So
a
you did
campus. Yeah, yeah.
right. So you did computer science as an undergrad. What's your typical expectation for somebody in terms of earning power?
Well, so what I could say is that it in my field, at least in this field, it comes down to um, a lot of your technical skills, right? Um, Experience is a big factor too, but um, your technical skills definitely play into um, what you could expect. Um, and obviously the company that you work for, the size of the company, things like that. But I would say a typical grad, like straight out, and obviously also it depends on where you live, right? The market, right?
Yeah. 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 For sure.
So you could
Yeah.
have, you know, developers, software engineers in California, or, some of these bigger, more mainstream um, cities, like out of school, they might earn maybe 125, $150,000 a year, things like that, right? As a fresh grad, it might be a possibility, right? But a lot of it comes down to um, in a technical field like this, how well are you able to interview and um, impress uh, that company, right? So if you want to work for, let's say, some big tech company, or maybe not even a big tech company, might be a small company. Like, there's always that technical component of your interview, and a lot of times that determines where you land on the scale, right? Um, so in that aspect, I would say it really varies. It really varies. But compared to a lot of other majors, I would say, from what I've seen, that's where you earn a decent salary and everything, right? So fresh grads that may have done a business oriented subject, um, or a
The,
art
the first
oriented
grad,
subject.
they'll be counting your money.
Right. And it depends. As a a fresh grad, I've seen people get offered, like, you know, um, $60,000 a year, things like that, right? And if if you think about it, right, after being a college student for so long, and being broke for so long, um, being able to make that kind of money is always I would say it's important, right? Because at the end of the day, you have that loan to pay back. You
Hmm.
have you have you also want to enjoy your life, right? You work for so long in school. You want to be able to do certain things and enjoy certain things. So um, definitely, I would encourage everybody to do STEM fields. But like I said, it's not necessarily for everybody. But definitely, if you looking to um, increase your earning power, and make that six figures, is definitely the
Industry to go into
industry to
in
go
that
into.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Vonnie, I know you're a figures man, you're an accountant. So you hear a man talking figures there and you're thinking, boy, out of college, like my first job, and already hitting 70, $80,000. Guys, I would say, and I'm not speaking of every single person, but if you were to earn 60, $70,000 it just coming out of college, that's not a bad start
It's not a bad.
because you don't necessarily have a bunch of work experience yet. So imagine Simeon in 10 years literally knowing how to troubleshoot a bunch of things that somebody who just starting have no idea what he's talking about. The earning power that someone gains over years of experience and certifications and going to conferences and all of that type of stuff. Endless, endless, Vonnie.
Endless. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've been, I don't know if privilege is the right word, but I know a lot of software engineers. And accountants usually, especially depending on how long you're in the field and different things, you could, be compensated handsomely, depending on how you parley that degree or that knowledge base. But let's just say anytime I'm having dinner with my software engineer friends, they take the bill.
They pick up the tab.
Yeah, anybody else, I'll pick it up. But when it's a software engineer, now you got this, bro. It's all good. You got this. My bro, my bro with me who helped me set up everything. He's a software engineer too. So I'm listening to what Simeon saying, but I'm like, he's being a little conservative. But that's neither
Yeah,
here
yeah. Simeon giving an insight into where you're getting your next
No, but
dinner
that's
from,
good.
man.
Yeah, it's good. You definitely don't want to. You want to have a conservative approach when you're giving expectations because you want people to be pleasantly surprised more than
Yeah.
anything else. So I definitely agree with what you've done.
Yeah, and I mean, you do your research. Easy to find that information. You like a lot of job postings are public. Like the salary range is public, right? So,
Hmm.
you could find that information easily. Um, I would say just to add to the whole idea of being realistic, um, pay attention to how taxes affect that.
Yeah, true.
Because if they tell you they pay you X amount, you don't necessarily get X amount at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
But at the end of the day, still, it's definitely, I would encourage people that want to go after STEM and technical subjects, um, especially things like computer science and engineering and stuff like that. To it once you like it and you enjoy doing it, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Something to Simeon, and you kind of touched on it slightly, is that some people, they don't necessarily know that they have the ability to do something until they actually put their mind to it. So because sometimes we're not exposed to so many things in some of the countries that we come from, we might be limiting our expectation or what we actually think we can achieve. But then when you come to the US now, you realize, well, if I'm doing computer science, I have to have certain foundations. Yeah, I have to have math and these kinds of things, and I have to have certain technical knowledge that are going to help me to be successful. But just because you're in a space where it is designed for you to succeed, it is designed for you to pass. They're not they're not trying to take your money at university or have you pay for something and then have you fail. They're
Yeah.
trying to help you pass. So professors are gonna, I mean, you're gonna find a bad professor every now and again. I'm not saying no, but generally, Simeon, almost every professor would go out of their way to try to help you to understand a concept, try to help you to get it, try to help you to succeed at some point. So you might be limiting yourself and thinking, you know what, I wasn't really good at this, I didn't excel, I wasn't the exception in class, so I'm not smart enough, and all of that stuff. But sometimes all it takes is just putting your mind to it and challenging yourself, but making strategic decisions based on what you want for your life. Especially as I said, as an immigrant, and we're honing in on that because you can't live in the U.S. without money, and you don't want to be struggling. You want to live comfortably. So, in terms of like your actual experience, Simeon, in university and achieving that degree, I mean, I was around when you were pursuing your degree, so I know sometimes you were stressed. Like, I know it was tough. You had to do a lot of teamwork. You had to put the extra work in, but you had fun too. We played music together. We partied a little. We did all kinds of different things. I mean, come
Just a
on, we
little,
threw
yeah.
down part. We you know what I mean? We did
Yeah.
things together. But at the end of the day, how was that actual experience in the classroom? And like, how did you get to that point? Was it like nobody else in this world could do that? It was too difficult, or was it a case where they wanted you to succeed, so they made it so that you could succeed.
No, no, I definitely think yeah, most like in general, the entire system, I don't think, is designed. It's definitely, I should say, it's definitely not designed to see you fail, right? Because at the end of the day, they want you to graduate and get that good job so you could donate to the program,
True.
when you start working, right? But
Yeah.
um at the end of the day, it's like I always believe that once you apply yourself, um and I mentioned something a bit earlier when I said some things might come natural to you and some things might not, right? So I feel in a lot of ways, um, some of the things that we would have done in class or covered in, throughout my degree felt like, it was easy for me to grasp, right? Other people, it might not come naturally. So you just have to put in the work to understand. It might take an extra hour or two of studying, or you making the effort to go to tutoring sessions, because at the end of the day, like, it's really hard for you to fail, right? If you like, I mean, Timon mentioned you might get one or two professors that are, you know
Yeah.
but outside of that, it's like there's just so many resources, right? Like one, like, you have your classmates to lean on, and everybody understands that, hey, we're all in this struggle together. We all want to get this degree, and it's not like, primary school where there's a first place and second place
Yeah.
where everybody's competing for,
Yeah.
like, there's none of that really. So, people generally are open to helping you um, once you also, you don't want to just be like, hey,
A leech.
yeah, you want to be a leech in a sense. Like, you don't do your assignments, you don't do your homework, you don't contribute to anything. But, if there's something that you're struggling with, definitely there classmates that are willing to help you. And, the professors are, they have office hours, they they're willing, and you just need to make yourself available. You could go to tutoring sessions, you go to labs, they help you out. um, they just won't do it for you, and it takes that level of personal responsibility for you to, hey, at the end of the day, i I'm doing this degree, and when it comes to your major, like, passing is in all areas, right? Because there are so many people that get into the workplace and they have that degree, but, like, you're thinking, like, how did you end up here, man? you know so you want to understand what you're doing, and, just have that basic grasp of certain concepts. And the thing is, I know a lot of our conversation sounds like, um, what I was speaking on, like a computer science degree, for example, is, oh man, it's so technical. It's a lot of coding, but, like, you could do a computer science degree, or you could be involved in tech. Let me put it that way. You could be involved in tech, and you're not necessarily a coder. Like, I remember you speaking with Marcus. He was talking about how he found his career path kind of late.
Hmm.
What he does right now. Um, and it's the same thing when it comes to, like, that whole IT, field, right? So you don't have to be a software engineer. You don't have to be you don't have to be the person writing the code. You could be an architect, right? You could be the person designing the solution that people go ahead and implement. You could be a business analyst, which is, essentially the person that, you know, speaks to the client and gathers all those requirements, and, put everything together in technical documentation and all this stuff, right? You're not necessarily the person, hey, I'm coding this thing. You could be a database administrator. You could be in involved in networking or cybersecurity, for example. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily, have one thing that you need to do. It's a spectrum. So,
And that is what I was saying, Simeon, where some people think because we're limited in terms of what we have access to in some of the countries that we come from, we think that it's like computer science and these things are just like this straight and narrow paths, but not understanding that like cybersecurity, there are other areas of specialization that you can do that doesn't necessarily rely on you being the best coder, as you said. You
Yeah,
understand? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to exposure too, and what people see. So like being in the U.S., for example, and being in school, it showed me a different dynamic, right? Because you get access to all these, like you might get an experience of going to a conference and
mm-hmm.
speaking to people from different companies, right? And then you're like, oh, this person is whatever, and oh, you never heard about that, and they start explaining what they do, and you
Yeah,
gain wider perspective, right? So I think in a lot of ways we're limited, our perspective is limited based on what we see and what we interact with, direct or
mm-hmm.
indirectly. But um, for the most part, I think still we have so many. We're limited in some of the smaller regions like the Caribbean or wherever else, but um, the internet is your best friend. Like people use it
You
for
sure the internet is our best friend, or it's just for like social media, just to scroll through and watch TikTok videos? You
well,
sure? I mean,
It can be your best friend,
it can be your best
or it
friend.
could be overtaken.
it's useful sometimes. Let's
Yeah,
just put it that
yeah.
way. Yeah, it could be
So you
useful.
use it, it's a tool.
But yeah, we're
Yeah,
saying we're saying that as a joke. But on a serious note, though, we really need to teach young people. Our young people really need to invest in learning how to use the internet. I mean, sometimes you get questions and you're like, I literally tell some people the question you just asked me, I'm about to Google it because I don't even know, and
yeah,
that's how I get the answer. So it's just a matter of understanding the tools that you have and knowing how to use it. And sometimes, boy,
yeah. I think it's a lot of it's we don't have a recently we don't have a strong culture or sense of self-reliance. And I feel because we're in this age where we consume, like we just like things just get thrown at us.
yeah,
If it doesn't get thrown at you, you don't decide to go look
to
for
go
it,
and
right?
find it. Yeah,
So I think in a lot of ways, a lot of youth, influence in that bad way. But you just need to know what you want and what you want to go after, because at the end of the day, you leaving to do this degree, there are a lot of things that you would have to research, like Vonnie was saying earlier. So it's best you start now. You need to like dig through tons of information. Even when you get into the workplace, your boss isn't going to tell you everything that you need to do.
yeah,
They're just going to
yeah.
tell you, hey, this blah 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 is the problem. Like, go figure it out.
Fix it. Yeah.
And that's when you start. You do your research, then you start asking questions, whatever the case is. But like, and I would always say that, like, okay, you come to me with a problem, like, what did you try? Like, did you research it? Like, and we have to always have this mentality, like, self-reliance and taking personal responsibility for yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in a little thing there to what you were saying to Simeon. And two things I want to say. One, don't just be intimidated by a specific major. Break it down. A major is made up of several different courses, so look at the courses, different things of that nature. And another thing that I've recognized, and from where we're from, and I think the difference in the teaching style or universities is that they start teaching you like you're a baby. They start you from the beginning. So even if that's something that was not in your background and you're like, oh, I never did science before, or I never did nursing before, or I never did, something before, that doesn't mean you can't pursue it because they started like you're fresh. That's one
Yeah.
thing. The next thing I wanted to say, and that I want to shout out someone that reached out to me, on my family members real close to me, and she was telling me she really frustrated about different things, pursuing different things, school and everything, and I'm like, anything that's worth it is not easy. And it seems cliche and everything, but it's true. If you have an easy degree that you just go through and blow through, most likely it's not going to bring much return. That means anybody could do it. And I was like, while she was speaking to me, I was like, listen, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now and stressed right now. But because of where I want to go, because of the goals that I have, I know that's part of the journey. It's not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to feel comfortable. It's not supposed to feel good all the time. And actually, it's not about feelings. Feelings are fickle. It's about what you have to do, whether you feel good about it or not, because feelings change all the time, but the objectives remain the same if you really focus. So that's all I really wanted to see. Uh, kind of just closing up on that.
Yeah, just to tie into that, so 2 points that both Timon and Vonnie made. So Vonnie was saying that like when you start your degree, like they start teaching you like you're a baby, and that just means that like they start you from like first floor, square one, and to add to what Timon said a lot earlier, that's why you know, we would advise people to go to that junior college or that community college, right? Because you get exposed to a lot of the things that get covered at in your university degree, right? So
Yep.
uh, at that point, so you're in a class in university, an entry level class, but you're already advanced because you had that exposure from your community college. So I would say, definitely a great step to make.
Yeah. So I would say, like, in closing here, I would say one of the things that you mentioned, Simeon, that might be one of the subsidiary points. It wasn't maybe your main point, but researching and understanding how to read and get information is extremely important, especially when you're doing degrees like you're doing, where you have to go find the answer. You can't just expect a code would be written for something that you're making your own, like making on your own. It's something that you have to figure out, how do I get to that end goal? And that applies to everything when it comes to university. A lot of university work isn't about, because the classes are only 40 minutes, and then if you have like a back-to-back class, it'll be an hour and a half, or on 20 minutes or whatever. At the end of the day, a lot of the work that you're going to do isn't what the professor is going to tell you in that lecture. It's a lot of like, go write a paper on this, go do some kind of like research or write some code or whatever. So ultimately, the idea of university is about being independent and being able to research and do things that isn't going to be handed to you by the professor. So we started this conversation talking about choosing a university. We hit some of the points. If you didn't get to see the conversation from the beginning, but you're just joining, you could go back on the live and check to see what we talked about. But then we want to end with the idea of choosing the major that really benefits you as an individual. Now, as I said, a lot of the stuff that we're going to say isn't to say that if you really want to do something, you shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? But we're just thinking of the immigrant student who cannot just stay in the U.S. and work, and he wants to. What gives them the best opportunity to earn and to remain in the US, where they can see bigger things and pursue bigger dreams and stuff? So a lot of what we're saying is geared towards that person. It doesn't fit everyone, and that's okay. Everything that we say isn't going to fit everybody. We're not saying that STEM is the only way to survive, you know what I mean? But we're strongly suggesting that you challenge yourself, look into it. There are some people who are good at biology, physics, all of these types of things, and they might just want to run away from it because they feel it'll be too difficult. But you might find a major that you could do that incorporates the physics, the biology, the computer science that you did when you were in high school, but then you find something that is niche or something that is different from that general area. So thank you very much, Simeon, for sharing your perspective on what you do and why you think it is beneficial. You shared so much, I mean, outside of just the major, you shared a lot of knowledge and facts about things that people should really consider. I don't know if the man should consider being a guru, Vonnie, because I find
Yeah,
some of the information here was really deep, eh?
yeah, I'm wondering. I'm not sure. We probably have to have an executive meeting and we'll see if we need somebody else on the team because
Yeah, yeah.
definitely be a
We
key
might need a
contributor.
we might need a counselor for us because some of the challenges we might need somebody to counsel us.
No, but I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk, bro. So I remember before I left home to do my degree, just a side note, but like I was, I said to myself like, hey, I'm going out here to do this thing, right? And at the end of it, I want to be able to impact somebody else and you know help somebody else on their journey, right? And I think you know platforms like this in a lot of ways help help us do that, right? So
Yeah.
appreciate the invite and the wise words.
Coming from you.
You know, man, our guru, you know.
Yeah, Bonnie, any final words before we wrap up the live?
No, just say appreciate you, Simeon, coming through. We're definitely looking to have a lot more of these, so don't be surprised if we reach out to you again. Just as what we touched on earlier on, we have a lot of information. Timon does a great job of just creating a lot of content, on our YouTube channel, on our
I won't
Facebook.
lie, Bonnie. Right now, I'm cooking with gas.
Yeah,
Like the
right
content
now,
just rolling out, boy.
give me after tax season, and then
Yeah, I'm cooking with
we're
gas
gonna.
right now. Trust
But
me.
yeah, but definitely he's doing a great job. So you want to do that, get a lot of free information, check it out, share it with your friends. Simeon did say that, the younger people could see these things and have a good idea about it. You could share it with them. You don't have to go and look at the long video. If you're driving, you could probably listen to the podcast. But if you just want to show somebody, you could show them little Instagram clips, a lot of information. And the next thing that we also always say, everybody that we work with, every potential student, it's a free service. So it's coming from Timon's mouth, it's coming from Vonnie's mouth, it's coming from our mouth. It's a free service. So just remember that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so guys, thank you very much for doing this. Our first guest on the show. We are going to be having more guests. Um, well, I don't necessarily want to say who it is we're going to be having, but we are looking at people in the healthcare field. We are going to be looking at engineers and people who are in different areas of study. So, and not just STEM. So don't attack us and say we're not doing STEM, right? Okay.
Yeah, we're not making
But
steps, to be honest. So, but anyway, that's the
yeah, so so we are going to be having other people going to be doing some guest interviews with us too. But what we really encourage you to do is it really helps if you support us by liking our page, subscribing, sharing our information with somebody. You can literally, if you're a teacher in the Caribbean and maybe intercall happening or your big games happening and them children don't want to do nothing, just play our interview in the class and let them listen. I mean, smart. I giving all the ideas, no lesson planning in this. Everything we say, we're spitting facts anyway, so you're good to go. But yeah. On a serious note, though, we appreciate all the people who've been liking our pages and subscribing and like helping us to get the word out, sharing what we do. So continue to do that. We have to figure out what's going on with the Facebook Live because whenever we do a test, it works.
yeah.
But whenever we actually trying to go live, for some reason there's some technicality. So you might just see us randomly doing a live out of nowhere with our faces looking tired as ever.
There
But
should
we
be a
might
way
have
to,
to do like an actual. Whenever I try to do a test live, it works, and whenever I do the real thing, it doesn't work.
but you might be able to. I know that there should be a way for you to stream like if you have the recording, stream it live on Facebook after the fact. So that might be something that might be good to do.
Yeah, but we definitely want to get the information out to people, especially on Facebook, because we know the audience there. It's a vast audience, and we do want to try to do that. So if maybe you're listening to us and you have some technical skill and you could help me out here, help a brother out, please. Shoot me a message and say,
I'll look at it, man.
all right, yeah. It all right, all right, all right, all right. But
Just
yeah,
over already.
but yeah, it was nice spending some time with you all. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to us tonight. If you disagree with some of the things that we said, that's okay. Send us a message, give us some advice as to how we can improve what we're doing. But as I said, we're giving perspective based on trends and what we're seeing. We're not just trying to give you fluffy words to make you feel good about yourself, and then you didn't get the best advice. All right, so thank you for following, listening, sharing everything that you've done. We appreciate you all. Be safe. Vonnie, Simeon, thank you guys for being on. I'm Timon, and we're out. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. See you.